Are you sitting down? Because get this, in this week's astrology, we've got an Aries full moon, Mercury entering Scorpio, Mercury squaring Pluto, Venus opposite Saturn. Oof. But even with this week's sky, Magic Monday has you covered on everything you need to know about this astrology, and particularly how you can co-create with the cosmos in order to make your life a little bit more magical. That's what we do every single week here in my cosmic corner of the internet. Today we're discussing the astrology from October 6th to October 12th, 2025, and how you will feel these astrological themes weave into your workplace, weave into your dates, weave into your errands, weave into your schedule. I've got you covered. We're bringing the stars down to planet Earth. Let's unpack this. We start the week with a fiery full moon in Aries. This is a full moon about returning back to yourself. We're, of course, navigating Libra season, a time to romanticize your life, to cultivate connection, to foster harmony within your interpersonal connections. But the Aries full moon is a reminder that there is no you and I without the I. You are a valuable part of the equation as it relates to balancing and working with and collaborating with anyone within your reality. And this full moon in Aries may bring you back to the sides of yourself that you've been neglecting and abandoning in this effort to keep the peace, in this effort to fit into the mold of what you feel like you need to be in order to be liked, to play the role of what has always been expected of you within your relationship. This Aries full moon is fiery. It's coming back to your fire. It's coming back to that raw part of you and giving yourself full allowance, full permission to be you. Sometimes we can demonize ourselves or make ourselves the enemy around, if only I wasn't so emotional, then it would be easier to be in a relationship with. If only I wasn't so much, then I would be more liked. If only I didn't have such big dreams, then I would get along more so with people around me. We can internalize it. It's important to know that Mercury opposed Chiron last week, and so that is still reverberating in the air. Chiron, of course, is in Aries, though not conjoining this full moon. So there is an energy around, am I the drama? Am I the issue? Am I the problem? And don't misunderstand me. We have a lot to work on. We have a lot of arenas that we can improve. Venus and Virgo may very well be pointing them out to us this week, especially with Venus opposite Saturn. It's not saying that anyone is perfect or beyond improving or dialing in, but it's important to witness where it is that you are suppressing, where it is that you are neglecting, where it is that you are shapeshifting who it is that you are. Like, is the issue that you are too emotional? Or is the issue that you are with a partner who is not emotionally available and does not compute when you are upset about something? Is the issue that your dreams are too big? Or just are you around people who are not as ambitious as you? Is the issue that you are too much? And furthermore, is the solution to be less of yourself, to have smaller desires, to have smaller dreams, to have smaller issues of where you feel respected? Where have you been abandoning yourself, neglecting yourself, feeling like you have to fit into this particular mold? And where is this Aries full moon asking you to break out of the mold? The Aries full moon for some can also be a nudge of risk, of daring, of initiating. Aries is the messy first draft, and Libra season wants it to be perfect, right? Libra energy writes the pros and the cons. It balances this perspective and this perspective, and what this person thinks and what this person thinks. Whereas the Aries full moon is that nudge. It's that instinct. It's that push from the universe. It's like, I'm ready to do this. And it's important to answer the call. You know, I've never been skydiving. Let me know if anyone below has. But there's an energy with this full moon around, it's time to leap out of the plane. Like, we've got Mercury squaring Pluto this week, so there can be an energy around looking down. You're all ready, right? You're there. You've gone through all the trouble of signing up to skydive. You've gone through the trouble around being flown to the sky. And now in that particular moment, you're being told it's time to jump. It's time to leap. Now your mind is thinking about all the reasons that you shouldn't, or all of the reasons why this is very well going to lead to your imminent demise. Or you can sometimes overthink or ruminate or obsess so much so that you miss the opportunity. You miss the opportunity to jump. You deny that instinct, that raw just fire that ignites around it's time. Because this is not me saying that we all need to go skydiving this week, but it is a reminder that when we play to our edge, when we meet our point of resistance, when we get out of our comfort zone, our mind will go on overdrive with all of the reasons why we should not do that, why we should stay on solid ground. And certainly nobody needs to go skydiving, but I would imagine, I would love the skydiving community to pop in. I would imagine that would feel very exhilarating and empowering after the fact, knowing that you leapt out of a plane, my goodness. But there might be an energy this week around facing a certain fear and getting to feel the empowerment that comes on the other side of it. Because maybe it doesn't show up for you around the universe saying, it's time to jump out of the plane. Maybe for you, it's around, it's time to launch that thing. And there you are, all ready to go, but you're looking down and now you're panicking, you're analyzing, you're in indecision around, it could all go wrong. Because what's important to know, and this is especially alive with Mercury entering Scorpio squaring Pluto, your mind filters anything new as risk, and it filters risk as perishing. Our mind wants us to stay in the status quo. It wants us to stay in our comfort zone because that ensures our survival. And there's really an ask this week, do I want to survive or do I want to thrive? Thriving is putting yourself out of your comfort zone. Thriving is when you get a nudge from the universe, answering the call. And when we meet that moment, our mind will tell us all of the reasons why we should not do that because it's advocating for us to stay in the comfort zone. And what's so powerful is the version of ourselves that we meet on the other side of taking that risk. So for some, it's launching that thing, even if it's messy at first, even if it's a first draft. Look at anything. Everything began with a beginning, okay? And so if you are comparing your first draft to other people's polished 20th draft, this Aries full moon is around allowing it to just be as it is. Your authenticity will drive the pathway forward. It doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to be you. For others, there could be an element of risk as it relates to a partnership, a relationship, getting to the core of a situation. You already know Mercury in Scorpio is going to go deep, especially with Mercury squaring Pluto around. Can we address the elephant in the room? Can we address the thing that we are not looking at? And it can feel very risky. It can feel very daring to be vulnerable, to allow ourselves to really go there in connection. And again, it brings in this Libra Sun Aries Moon energy around, can I be as I am? And can I take you as who it is that you are? Because Venus in Virgo, opposite Saturn, we all have things that we can improve upon. We all have ways that we could be a better partner, better spouse, better husband, better wife, what have you. But there is a point in time around having to radically accept. And not only just radically accepting your partner, but radically accepting yourself, who it is that you are, and really recognizing where you are making yourself the enemy. If only I was not so sensitive. If only I did not want so much. If only I wasn't so disrespected by these sort of things. Have you contemplated that it's not a you issue? It's just you in the wrong room, you in the wrong situation? Or are you just on the ground when your soul is longing for you to skydive? Are you really asking for too much? Are you asking the wrong person? Are your desires really too big? Or are they just in a life that cannot accommodate them as they are currently? Are you really weird for who it is that you are? Or are you just trying to fit into a mold of what other people expect you to be? It's important to really cultivate self-love this week and every week, and to really recognize where fear of being seen, fear of being intimate, fear of being vulnerable, fear of changing a certain situation is keeping you stuck and keeping you from taking the leap. And so we'll, of course, break this down. Some of you might be listening to this like, Haley, Comet, you're telling me to skydive and launch the thing, start the thing. I'm just trying to get through the week. Don't worry. I got you covered on every way that the astrology may surface within your life. But speaking of Mercury squaring Pluto, going deep and addressing the elephant in the room, I know what people are asking right now as they're tuned into their podcasts. Haley, Comet, what are you drinking and where did you get your jewelry? Let's unpack it. Firstly, what I'm drinking, it's almost gone. And that's always a very strong sign and signal that my beverage this week was delightful. I made this lavender sparkling water drink. I put in a little bit of lavender syrup into it, a little bit of apple cider vinegar, got to appease Venus transiting Virgo and all, and then some sparkling water. It is delightful. It is delicious. I cut these little strawberries and tried to put them into a heart, Libra season, romanticizing my life and all of that. It kind of flopped, but I hope that you got the sentiment. Also, the drink was really purple and pretty from the lavender syrup. but now it just kind of looks gray. At least I made an effort to romanticize my life. So even though my drink somewhat flopped, if you watch Magic Monday, my jewelry never flops. My jewelry always slays. Everything that I am wearing, as well as most of my jewelry collection, is from Ana Luisa, who is my very favorite jewelry brand. Here's why. Libra season is all around the balance. And for me, Ana Luisa is that perfect balance of high quality jewelry while also not breaking the bank. Their pieces are very affordable, but they are durable. They last for years and years. With a Venus in Virgo opposite Saturn, I know a lot of us are thinking very critically on our money and what we spend it on and towards. I've had Ana Luisa pieces for years now that truly gleam, sparkle, and shine just as much day 402, whatever day it is now, as they did day one when I opened them out of the package, which it's always a good sight to see an Ana Luisa package waiting for you. It makes for such a wonderful way to show yourself love and appreciation this Aries full moon, or to show love and appreciation to someone within your life, with it being Libra season. So it's so love to twin with you, to match with you. Check out Ana Luisa within the link in my description. Pieces start at just $39. It's such wonderful, classic, timeless pieces to stack, to layer, to accessorize. It's a Venusian ruled season. We've got to look stylish. We've got to look fabulous. And that's really how I feel every time I wear Ana Luisa jewelry. I really think of it as adorning myself in order to feel like my most sparkly, my most radiant self, because you deserve to feel like your most sparkly, your most radiant self, especially with this Aries full moon. So check that out below. Thank you so much, Ana Luisa, for sponsoring this episode of Magic Monday. And let's go ahead and take it into our next segment, Vibe Check of the Week. Hello, welcome to Magic Monday. Vibe Check of the Week is a segment where we take all of the influences of this week's astrology, the Aries full moon, Mercury entering Scorpio, Mercury squaring Pluto, Venus sextile Jupiter, Venus opposite Saturn. We take all of that and compare it to a real life scenario around, hey, this sort of energy, yeah, it's kind of like a situation like this. And I'm not saying that this exact situation will play out this week, but if you tune into dynamics and elements of it, you may see similar ones surface within your reality. And this week's astrology feels like considering leaving a relationship. And I just envisioned a collective gasp of horror all around the Magic Monday viewers. I am not saying to those of you who are coupled, partnered, married, that everybody is going to want to leave their connection this week. That is not what I'm saying at all. But here is why this week's astrology sort of gives that. The Aries full moon is a reminder of self, a renewal of self, an illumination of what ignites you, what inspires you, what exhilarates you. And also getting back to that raw part of who it is that you are. We will say our protagonist in this week's vibe check, there's just this recognition, I don't recognize myself any longer. I have fundamentally had to snooze components of myself in order to fit into the mold of this relationship, of this connection. I'm being told I'm too much, I'm too this, I'm too that. You're asking for too much. Your dreams are too much. Who else is going to love you the way that I do? You are beginning to feel like you are the problem. You are the issue. Again, we all have arenas where we can grow and evolve, and relationships are one of the most fruitful lessons in life school. We have so much that comes up when it relates to our one-to-one connections and relationships. There's so many opportunities for learning and growing. But in this week's vibe check, there's just this recognition around, I think I might have learned all that I have learned. Like, I do not recognize who it is that I am any longer. I have pushed and negated and denied and invalidated so much of myself. I want to get back to myself. I want to return back to myself. And that is something that can be done in the context of a relationship. It's important to say this week's astrology feels like considering it, not necessarily taking the leap necessarily around it, but considering it. And maybe having that contemplation helps you take the leap in a different way around. Let's talk about the thing, because it's been simmering. I've been denying what I'm feeling. This issue has been problematic for me. I felt disrespected here. Let's go there. Let's talk about it. And there is kind of like a flirting or a contemplation of what life would look like outside of the connection with Venus sextile Jupiter around, I would feel more free to explore my hobbies. I would feel more free as it relates to day to day. I would have less to clean up. I would feel more free in order to prioritize my work. Like sextile is a very soft flow of energy, but there just could be a recognition, like when you consider it around, do I want to just be solo? Do I want to go out on my own? Beginning to envision the future and that not being such a scary thought, not being so terrifying. And with the Venus opposite Saturn, there's a recognition towards the end of the week around how much we sacrifice or restrict in an effort to be part of a union and a relationship and a partnership. And this differs for every single person. I'm not saying every single person is considering breaking up. I'm not saying everybody's breaking up, certainly not. But it just feels like an acknowledgement around we go through hard parts of our relationship. And I think all of you who are in a relationship, in a partnership, or have been in one can also echo that sometimes there's really sweet, beautiful moments and seasons of our marriage, of our union, of our relationship after very hard seasons. Like everything goes through challenges and hurdles. Like Venus in Virgo is asking us to be very realistic about that. And with the opposition to Saturn, recognizing this is what it means to be committed. That means being committed when things are going great and also being committed when your partner's sick and you have these extra tasks on your plate. Like it's not always butterflies and rainbows, but it is worth it so long as you really want to be there and so long as you are not feeling fundamentally disrespected or not seen as the person that you are. But in this week's vibe check, it's just this acknowledgement around, am I seen here? Do I feel respected here? Do I feel chosen here? Am I choosing myself? Am I neglecting myself in order to prioritize this relationship and then feeling further neglected? Where can I come back into myself? Where can I reconnect with myself? Where can I take the leap? Maybe not necessarily out of the connection, maybe for some, but maybe I'm feeling so not seen and neglected and abandoned within my relationship because I've abandoned my desires. I've abandoned my hobbies from before the relationship. I've neglected what I want out of life. And so maybe that's the leap I'm being nudged to take, is to return back to that. Maybe there's things that are simmering beneath the surface that I need to voice. And maybe even just contemplating what life would look like beyond. Yes, I know I could do it. Aries Full Moon, it's a reminder of our own independence. You know, some individuals could recognize this is not healthy. I'm not feeling seen. I'm not feeling valued. I'm not feeling chosen. And it helps to recognize that there is a version of you outside of this season of your life, whether it's outside of this relationship, outside of this period, this season of feeling lost. And sometimes just even envisioning what that could look like. If I had my own apartment, how would I decorate it? You know, independence and being single, being solitary does not need to be a death sentence. It could be a new opportunity, turning over a new leaf. So maybe just some of you are even just contemplating that. And if you are in a relationship that you really want to be in, you are committed, you are bound, it could just be that energy around, like, I know to my core, I'm good. I'm going to work at this particular relationship, but I know if something transpires, I've got me. I can envision a life outside of this. That doesn't mean I'm choosing it, but I can envision it outside of it. And I think I speak for many, maybe not all, but sometimes there's a contemplation of that. You have a hard day with your partner, hard day with your spouse, and you just contemplate, would it be easier on my own? Like, question mark. And then you have like a really sweet, amazing season within your relationship. Like, we all have times where we contemplate, should I be somewhere else? Should I be doing something different? And what's so challenging is that only you can really make that decision. And I think the ask, beyond even just, am I staying? Am I going? Am I in this? Am I not? Beyond that, it's really around, what is keeping me here? What is keeping me here? Am I here? Am I choosing this? Am I showing up? Or am I just scared? Scared of what comes next? Scared of being on my own? There is a focus on our fears this week with Mercury square Pluto, and where fears can consume our mind, where they can even control our mind, where they can keep us complacent or keep us waiting in the plane. So terrified to take the leap, even when the skydiving has been purchased and you've contemplated before and you're all the way at the top, and then having that moment where like, do I jump out? And so there's just an acknowledgement of that. And yes, relationships are a focus. For some, it's not necessarily, am I staying, am I going? For some, it can just be like, can we talk about this? Can I risk being seen as myself? Can I risk allowing this vulnerable component of myself to be revealed. That can be so terrifying, maybe even more terrifying than skydiving. I honestly would rather skydive than be vulnerable when it comes to romantic relationships. It is so uncomfortable, but it's also so worth it. And so maybe for some, it's not necessarily, should I stay, should I go? Maybe for others, it's this energy around, should I open up or should I stay closed off? Around recognizing with Mercury squaring Pluto, they could break my heart. They could do this. And this person told me this about how everybody out there is going to hurt me and deceive me. And so that would be the case, like looking for all of these reasons to keep yourself, again, in the same place. Our mind will fight for all sorts of excuses that will literally make us feel like we will not survive if we take the risk, if we start the new chapter, if we do the thing, because our mind literally sees new experiences as, I am not safe. I could pass away in this new experience. Even if it's just, you're fine, you're just single. Even if it's just, you're fine, you're just opening up to someone new. Our mind is like, I need to stay alive, so I need to stay in my little box. I need to stay in my comfort zone. And sometimes we make excuses the thing when that's not the thing. And there's a lot of power to getting to the heart of it, to getting to the root of it, which is what Mercury and Scorpio is all around. Let's dig in. Let's get to it. And we can say, well, I can't leave because how will I pay for this? I can't leave because what will I do with family gatherings? It's not to say those are not valid concerns, but it's easier to make it about money. It's easier to make it about family rather than the core truth of, I'm not happy here. This is not meeting my needs. This is not where I want to be. Sometimes it's harder to contemplate that. So it's like, I couldn't possibly leave because of this, because of this, because of this. So I'm just going to stay put because all of these things keep me where I am. There is a call for empowerment this week. Around with Aries full moon, tapping into your fearlessness, tapping into your ability to prioritize yourself, advocate yourself, assert yourself, and to recognize that you are stronger than your limitations. You are stronger than your excuses, and you're stronger than you realize. Or sometimes you jump out of the plane, or you move out by yourself, or you try a new thing and you're like, that's what kept me stuck for that long. That's what made the pilot have to fly back and forth, waiting for me to finally jump. Like, yeah, it was scary. It was terrifying, but I was keeping myself from living. I was keeping myself in that holding pattern. It never feels good when you're looking out. Again, I've never skydove, but I imagine it doesn't feel good when you're looking down like, should I go? Should I go? Should I go? I would imagine just feeling that exhilaration definitely is a rush, but then it's like, it's through, it's behind you. You're not in purgatory. You're not in the halfway zone any longer. And so this is going to play out differently for each and every one of us. But we'll say within the vibe check, our protagonist basically just recognizes that there's an energy around, I don't recognize myself. I don't feel seen. I don't feel prioritized. I don't feel chosen. Because I don't feel that, I'm also not choosing myself. And so beyond even just contemplating, do I want to stay in the relationship? Do I want to not? It's this energy around, how can I choose myself? How can I choose myself in every situation, regardless of who is choosing me or not? Choose yourself. The Aries full moon is asking you to. So we'll say within our protagonist, the relationship is going through a hard season. It's in a hard spot. Venus opposite Saturn. Maybe there's financial stressors, family stressors, all of these things that are making it hard, as well as this just resounding feeling around, I don't recognize myself. I don't know who I am. I've lost my way. I don't feel seen. I don't feel chosen, but it's time for me to start choosing myself. And that can show up in such small ways around Venus sextile Jupiter. I used to love to dance. Let me prioritize dance. This is something that I feel disrespected about rather than swallowing my truth. Mercury square Pluto, let's talk about the thing. Let's go there because I'm worthy of advocating for, I'm worthy of being chosen. And I know that because I advocate for myself and I choose myself every single day. And that could be the fear. That could be terrifying. With Mercury square Pluto. What if they leave me if I prioritize myself? What if I dance and I'm made fun of and I'm a flop? What if I do break up with my partner and then everybody hates me? What if your what ifs can keep you in the same spot? Your what ifs can keep you waiting to leap with the plane going back and forth and back and forth. And it's just important to acknowledge, what am I really scared of? What is really at the heart of this, the core of this? And how can I know that even if Mercury square Pluto takes my mind to the worst case possibility, the worst case potential, how can I know that all be good? Because I've got me. The Aries full moon is a reminder, you've got you. You've got you in this season of your life. You'll get yourself through the next season of your life and all of the seasons to come. So we'll go ahead and take it into our day-by-day analysis. I just want to remind you that I am in California, so all times are PDT. Please adjust to your local time zone if you are located elsewhere. And let's go ahead and dive into the astrology for Monday, October 6th. So happy Monday. Welcome to your forecast for Monday, October 6th, aka the Aries full moon. So the full moon in Aries exacts just before 9 p.m. PDT tonight. So in many places in the world, it's going to land early on Tuesday. Regardless, here's what you need to know about the Aries full moon. This Aries full moon is an illumination of the balance or lack thereof between self, Aries moon, and other, Libra sun, and the aspects of self that we give up in partnership to another. There is a reason why the sun, the luminary of ego identity, is not dignified in the sign of Libra. Relationships. Sometimes in this effort to feel validated, liked, accepted, or part of something, we do sacrifice components of ourselves. And Venus opposite Saturn later on this week reminds us that love does take sacrifices. It does take making the chicken noodle soup when your partner is sick, or taking them to the DMV, or making dinner when you'd rather be playing video games, or what have you. There are sacrifices that we make in order to connect, or even to have community, to have friendship. There are sacrifices that are made. But you should not be the sacrifice. You should not feel like you have to suppress or hide who it is that you are in order to ensure this relationship's survival. Like, where are you prioritizing the relationship surviving beyond you thriving? And they can absolutely coexist, and your relationship can thrive, but a relationship composes of two people who have permission to be themselves. Yes, sacrifices, drawbacks, good days, bad days, what have you, but still feeling like you can be as you are without having to play a role, without having to suppress, without having to minimize your own emotions and desires in order to feel accepted. And those sort of themes could really surface today. You know, the full moon is a bit fiery. It's a bit explosive. It squares Jupiter in Cancer. Sometimes the emotions that we push and push and push surface. And because we've been negating them so long and thus negating ourselves, they come up in a bit of a fiery way because they've been pushed into the darkness. And sometimes we have like a final trigger that kind of gives ourselves permission for all of this stuff to come out, right? All of these emotions to just pour out of ourselves. And sometimes it shows up in a very knee-jerk responsive way where this fight over the remote, this fight over dinner, it's not that the fight is about that. It's around something deeper, maybe something that's been building. And so, yes, it could absolutely show up within your relationships, within your partnerships, but it can also just show up around where am I fundamentally sacrificing parts of myself and what I need and what I desire. Where am I feeling called to initiate a new beginning, to ignite something? Aries is the first sign of the zodiac. It's so fun to be at the beginning of something. And yes, it's messy, it's vulnerable, but it's also fun. It's also exciting. You know, I recently started a clips channel. So silly, but basically I just started a new Instagram and a new TikTok to create just little short form content out of these podcasts that I do. And I got the nudge randomly one day. I had a totally different intention for my day and I followed it. Like the universe said, leap, and I leaped. I was like, okay, I'll do that. And it's been so fun. And of course, there's parts of it that are vulnerable. There is just part of starting something new, starting a new account that feels like you're standing in front of the class with your pants down, like one of those scary nightmares, right? There's parts of it that feel very revealing where it's like, okay, I have like no followers. I'm like starting this new thing, but it's been so fun. The way I get so excited about it, just when someone follows, I'm like, oh my gosh, they followed. And by the way, I'm not saying that anybody needs to unless they like want to see that sort of short form content on their feed. But every time someone follows or I get likes or someone reposts, like I've been doing social media for a while and I still love and value every single person who engages with my content, interacts with my content. But there comes to be a point in time where you get used to something, you get accustomed to it. And being at the beginning of this, it's like it has this fun, this luster that it had at the beginning. Like I remember I would get a new subscriber a week. I literally kept it in my journal when I was first starting this YouTube channel, and I would get so excited. And of course, I'm still so grateful every time someone chooses to subscribe or interact with my content. But when you're at the beginning of something, it's so fresh, it's so new. And so maybe you're feeling called to take a leap. The full moon squares Jupiter, to push past the fear, to be fearless, to answer the call, to answer the instinct. Even if you haven't dialed in the pro-con list or asked everybody, should I start the Eclipse channel? Should I do this? Should I not? Just answering the call. Like the universe says leap, and so I'm leaping. I'm starting this thing. I'm doing this thing. And I'm feeling the excitement that comes from it. I'm feeling the rush that comes from answering the instinct, even if it's not perfect or it's not pretty, or I'm going to learn more as I go. At least I'm giving myself permission to try. I'm giving myself permission to risk. I'm giving myself permission to be seen. Even if it's a little messy, if it's a little raw, I'm showing up for this experience. And I'm saying yes. Maybe some of you are saying yes to something. You come across a random club that's meeting in your neighborhood. I actually, same day, interestingly, as starting the Eclipse channel, I saw that they were having a skate club in my city, and I love roller skating, and I went, and it was so much fun. And of course, like in my car right before meeting everybody else, I was like, should I just skate by myself? Like, then I have to like talk to people, and there's just parts of it that just make you feel so uncomfortable every time you do something new. But you always feel grateful after that you faced the fear, that you did the thing, that you launched the thing. And there's time to polish. There's time to make it perfect, but you won't have anything if you don't give yourself a beginning. And so the Aries full moon could be an illumination of that. I'm not saying this is ideal astrology to launch, to debut, but there could be a surfacing of a desire to. And I do want to let you know that this month, Mercury does enter its pre-retrograde shadow phase. But what I do want to say is that if there is something you want to launch, you want to debut, you want to start, my recommendation would be to do so before Mercury enters its shadow October 21st. From that point, it's all around refining. It's all around editing the messy first draft. It's all around putting together the pieces of maybe the fiery argument or discussion that came out. We'll get into that with Mercury squaring Pluto, but there's time to refine. There's time to dial in. There's time to polish. Now's time to put things out there if you need it to be out there before the end of the year when it comes to this upcoming Mercury retrograde, or if there's travel plans. If you're traveling at the end of November, my recommendation would be to make those accommodations earlier in the month in October. If there's certain tasks that you've been putting off, I would recommend getting a jump on them earlier in the month before Mercury enters its pre-retrograde shadow. Again, sometimes we can wait for the perfect timing, and in waiting for the perfect timing, the window of opportunity passes us by. We waited for the perfect moment to leap, and now the pilot has to turn the plane around for us to try again. Sometimes there's not a perfect moment. It's just the moment that you get the call and answer it. And Aries is that raw fearlessness around arising the call. It's scary, but I'm doing it anyway. And tapping into that kind of delusional confidence or optimism with the square to Jupiter. There's so much optimism in starting anything. Like, it's a very optimistic thing to start something. And even starting a life, having a child, like Jupiter in Cancer, is one of the most optimistic things that you could possibly do. You are fundamentally affirming this world is a place that more souls should get to experience. You're fundamentally saying this world could benefit from a mixture of me and my partner out into this world. This soul could thrive on this planet. Like, that's very optimistic. Same goes with launching a business. Same goes with creating anything. It's very optimistic. And certainly things take more than just a beginning to thrive, but everything requires a beginning. So where are you denying yourself an opportunity for a new beginning? And are your fears keeping you where you are currently? And you are supported in asking those deeper questions. Mercury enters Scorpio this week. And so the planet of the mind, of thought, of intellect is diving deep into what's not being said, what's not being exposed, what's not being revealed. And there's a desire to bring what's been in the shadows to light with Mercury entering Scorpio and then promptly squaring off with Pluto. So there's a desire to go in the crevices of your own psyche and really ask yourself those deeper questions, as well as to others within your connections, to really ask the thing that everybody else is afraid to ask. You know, sometimes when we are connecting with someone and our friend is coming to us with their relationship stuff, or a family member is coming with something that they've been dealing with, and sometimes there could be this temptation to almost like tap dance around the issue at hand, around, oh yeah, and this happened, and oh yeah, and this happened. And there can be a desire with Mercury and Scorpio to get to the deeper root of it around, why are you still in this relationship with this person who's treating you like crap? Or why are you not doing the thing that you know that you need to do? You know, not everybody likes being called out on what is there, what's underneath the surface. It can make people uncomfortable. And there may be a nudge with this transit around having the deeper conversations, having the uncomfortable conversations. And even if it's not a conversation, like asking a harder question. You know, I've found a lot of Scorpionic types, Plutonian types, sometimes will get into situations where other people are mad around, I can't believe you asked me why I don't leave my relationship. I can't believe you asked me why this and that at the time. And then they come back and they're like, you had a point. Because sometimes we're so busy tap dancing around the issue ourselves and not wanting to confront that, because to confront that means I need to change it. So I don't want to look at that. So how dare you for making me look at that, even though I'm pulling you into the situation and detailing all of the various components to it. How dare you force me to go deep? How dare you encourage me to look at this piece? It's uncomfortable. We don't want to do it for ourselves. We don't want to do it for others as well. And this is not me saying you need to be rude or cross people's boundaries or tell people how to live, but there just could be an energy around, can we talk about the thing that we're not talking about? Like, why are we having this meeting when there's this giant elephant in the room? Why are we pretending like it's an issue with this and that when you and I both know it's around your relationship? Or why am I playing into your excuses when we both know you just need to do the thing? Like, there just could be an energy around, can we get to the heart of it? Mercury and Scorpio wants to get to the root of it. And with Mercury and Scorpio, there also could just be a focus around being intentional around what you want to share and what you don't want to share, being conscious of who you want to open up to, perhaps asking probing questions, perhaps following your intuition around what it is that you want to share, what it is that you feel called to share, what it is that you feel called not to share. Don't feel like you need to open up on every single topic. You have full autonomy and agency within your life around what it is that you want to talk about and what it is that you don't. With Mercury and Scorpio, mystery can be something that works to your advantage, especially if it's something that you don't want revealed. You know, Mercury building to square Pluto can make us a little paranoid, okay? And I would say with this energy, it's helpful to be discerning, it's helpful to be mindful, but just being mindful around where your fears are running rampant. You could get into a rabbit hole on the internet researching a really fascinating topic, or you can get into a rabbit hole that is convincing you that your demise is on the way and everybody that you love's demise is on the way. Our mind can go to darker places. And so it's just important to be conscious of that and utilize this Plutonian energy constructively, powerfully, looking at the underlying layer. Maybe you need to get to the heart of it with yourself around, okay, we're dancing around the issue. We're saying it's a money thing. We're saying it's a this thing. We're saying it's a family thing. It's a situational thing. It's a society thing. What is it? Because sometimes it's uncomfortable to just face it. I don't want to be here. I don't want to do this. I don't want to be in this. That's uncomfortable. So it's easy to be like, well, finances and well, this and well, that, rather than getting to the root of it around, do I want to be here? Or what is it that I really desire? There's a focus this week around facing what would be easier to ignore and asking ourselves the harder questions. And this energy can easily ruminate and obsess. And I would encourage you not to do that, but more so use this Pluto energy powerfully, as well as be very mindful around the ideas that you cement within your mind. You know, Mercury is a fixed sign, and so it's very stubborn. It's very set in its ways. Yes, it's water, but it's like ice. It's like stuck water in a sense, frozen water. And that could be very powerful. That's another topic for another day. But it's fixed in its thinking. It's rigid in its thinking at times, which can be very powerful when you make a decision. I am going to skydive. I'm going to do this thing. I'm going to get through this. I have the willpower. I'm going to get to the other side of my fears. I'm going to start my new life, whatever it may be. It's powerful to be very stubborn in your thinking when it's something helpful. I just want you to be conscious with the square to Pluto around where you have certain thoughts or ideals that are destroying you or that are keeping you even stuck, fears that are running rampant within you. I know within the book, How to Be a Great Astrologer by James Braha, I looked up because my bookshelf is right above my cosmic corner now. I have all my astrology books above me, which just makes me feel so supported in the cosmic corner, just feeling like literally backed by books. Makes me feel so supported. But within this book, I remember a piece of his discussion on Mercury square Pluto where he said that oftentimes when individuals who have this within their natal chart, which again, just important to be conscious of altogether as we navigate this transit, when an idea swims into their brains, sometimes it can have disastrous results because it's very challenging to be modified. In that if they fundamentally decide that this world is cruel and mean and that they are not good at something, like that energy can freeze. It can be a box. And Pluto is the energy around power. And so really utilizing the mindset that will help you move in the most powerful direction, that will help you conquer these fears, that will help you get to the other side of where it is that you are currently, and having that devoted mindset, I will get through this. I will get to the other side. And so being conscious of that on Monday with Mercury taking a deep dive into the Scorpionic waters, it's stubborn, it's fixed. Again, it's building to square Pluto. And so really confronting, what am I decided on? Maybe there's things I'm not decided on. Should I jump? Should I not? Should I leave? Should I stay? But what am I sure on? I'm sure I will get through this. I'm sure I am a fighter. I'm sure I have willpower. Like really chiseling your mind is your strongest weapon. And keeping your eye on the prize, right? Keeping that stinger towards what it is that you are moving towards, especially with your mentality. I will find a way. Everything is figure outable. And knowing that you are strong, you are powerful. The moon's in Aries all day long as we build to the full moon in Aries at 8:48 p.m. PDT. And so as that full moon builds, emotions can build and swell, and illuminations can build and swell, and revelations can build and swell. With the square to Jupiter, some emotions could be big. Things could be very busy. Aries moon energy tends to express itself in very fiery, reactive ways, which can be helpful. It's helpful to allow the energy to move rather than suppress, rather than hold on. This is not me saying that you need to scream and cry at anyone who crosses you today, but it is saying it's helpful to move through the energy, even if it's just, hey, can we talk about this? Because this upset me, how you talk to me at the grocery store, or screaming into your pillow, or even crying can be a release, like giving yourself permission to move with it. Emotions are energy in motion. It's meant to move. And so there can be an ask to let it move through you and from you today. The Aries moon just after midnight sextiles Pluto in Aquarius. So that reminder, you were resilient. You've been through hard times and you came out the other side stronger, more powerful. You will get through this as well. You will persist over whatever you are navigating currently. On Tuesday, October 7th, just before 8 a.m. at 7:41 a.m. PDT, Mercury will square Pluto. And so there could be an intensity baked into your Mars day, your Tuesday. We are, of course, fresh off the heels of last night's Aries full moon. So some of that could be in the air. You could have not been able to sleep during the full moon. You could feel exhausted. You could feel like you have an emotional hangover. Some of you might have an actual hangover. Who knows? And there's an energy of anxiety. With Mercury square Pluto, even if you did not drink last night, Mercury square Pluto is the energy of anxiety. Truly. Around, was I weird? Was my vibe off? Was that too much? Just that energy of sitting with the discomfort, the shame, the fear. Mercury square Pluto can put our thoughts into that sort of space. Did I reveal too much? Was I too much? This could also be the energy around, if I leave this relationship, will I be okay? Will I survive? And again, that's where you have to be very fixed in your thinking around, I will get through this. I will get through this regardless of who is by my side, regardless of where I am. I know wherever I'm going there with myself. And I'm my own best friend with Aries full moon. And I've got this. And I am fixed in my thinking that I will get through this. And so it's true. with the square to Pluto, this is like mental willpower, mental fortitude. But it's not to say that that sort of mental willpower and fortitude is coming from a very calm, balanced place. It could be the energy around mid crash out, mid freak out, and just having to pull yourself together around, okay, I've got to go to this meeting. I've got to take my kids to school. I've got to do what I need to do, and I need to zero in on that. And this can be an energy around being very suspicious, being very paranoid. Again, there is a delicate balance. It is helpful to be a bit guarded and a bit intentional. Some of us could stand to be a bit more of that way and not assume the best of everyone all of the time. I just want to share quickly, because this is definitely relevant, even with Venus opposing Saturn later on this week. I got scammed this weekend. Vulnerable share, revealing share. I did indeed get scammed this weekend. I was very upset that I fell for it. And sometimes we almost make ourselves more vulnerable by thinking that we can't fall for it, that it wouldn't happen to us, that we're smarter than that. Of course, we can all say like, oh, that couldn't happen to someone like me, and I'm so intelligent, I'm so this. But sometimes when we feel that way, like, oh, that would never happen to me, it makes us more vulnerable to it, because we just don't think that we would be someone who would fall for it. Oh, that happens to other people, not me. And it's important to know that these sort of things can happen to anyone, truly. Basically, how it all unfolded is that my best friend is moving to Thailand. So it was last weekend she was going to be here. And there's a festival called Crossed here in San Diego. And we decided spontaneously. I mean, when we woke up, we had the day saved that we're all going to spend time to save her as much time before she leaves. But we didn't know what exactly we wanted to do. And then one of my friends came across Cross tickets and was like, what if we go just one day? We'll dance, we'll have fun. And I was super down, but I was like balancing all of this like work stuff. I was doing too much. And that was the problem, because if I would have like slowed down, asked some questions, pulled a tarot card, looked at the astrology, like we have these tools at our disposal for a reason. I'm so mad at myself that I didn't do that. But basically I was talking with this person online. I know I'm kicking myself. There's a lot of mistakes that were made, but my friends got their tickets, no problem. And I started talking with this individual who was selling their ticket. And basically they had set up their whole profile to be someone in San Diego. And their whole thing was like, I'm so sad I can't go. I went so hard yesterday. They were like, what time are you going? You got to be there for this artist at 3 p.m. Like giving me all of this information that just made it seem believable. But what really hooked me in was their fear that I was going to scam them. They were like, I asked if we could use PayPal, and they were like, I'm really not comfortable with PayPal. I've been scammed off of it before, so I'm not comfortable with that. You know, I have sent people tickets and they never sent me the money. They said that they were good for it, and then I felt scammed. And so it almost like reverse engineering, where I was like, oh, I want to give this person comfort that I'm not like that and I would never do that. And so the proposition was, okay, send me half of the money, and then once you get into the festival, send the other half. I'm looking back on this like, girl, what are you doing? But to me, that gave me some sort of peace of mind, because I was like, okay, so we're both risking here. You know, we're both vulnerable here. Like I could scam that person by not sending the second half once into the festival, and this person could scam me by not giving me the ticket. And that is exactly what happened. It was silly. And sometimes we have to spend money that we are not pleased about. Venus opposite Saturn building later on this week. I was like, I can't believe it. And Mercury square Pluto, there could be an energy, obviously maybe not around getting scammed off concert tickets, but obsessing, like our thoughts spiraling around, firstly, I need to hire an Etsy witch stat to curse this person. You will rue the day that you were born. Roger Sawyer on Reddit. Just kidding. But, you know, Mercury and Scorpio squaring Pluto could have some of us, not going to say who, thinking of some thoughts of revenge. I was also spiraling just around, I'm so dumb. How could I do this? Like, I truly could not get over it. And I told my friends, I was like, you guys go to the festival. I'm so dumb. I got scammed. Like, that's money that could have gone to this and that. And like, I worked so hard, like whatever, you know, sometimes when we're in that energy, it could just go more and more and more and just like spiral and spiral and spiral. And truly, I was doing this until I had to decide, this is the last day that my best friend lives in the same country as me. Like, get it together. Get it together. You have the whole day free. Like, you've got to figure something out. And I did indeed end up going to the festival. We had a great time. It was so much fun. I'm so glad I did not allow that scammer to take me away from it. I did spend way too much money on that day than I should have, for sure. But I did get knowledge and experience from that. of not getting scammed. It does happen sometimes to us, and it does help to be a little bit more guarded. And again, it does help us to ask questions, to follow our intuition. Again, I think because I was so rushed, I was like, okay, my friends already had their tickets. They were coming over an hour. I was like, I got to find these tickets stat. I could have flipped a tarot card, could have seen Seven of Swords, could have looked at the astrology, saw Mars separating from Pluto, knowing I needed to be on guard. We have these tools for a reason, and I have to forgive myself around not doing that. And I have to just decide I'm over the spiral and just redirect my focus. Like, that's really the ask with Mercury squaring Pluto. Redirect your focus. This can be an energy around recognizing that you're on like a really dark side of the algorithm. If you spend a lot of time on social media, your TikTok algorithm, your Instagram algorithm, even your YouTube algorithm, having recommendations that just kind of feed more fear or negativity, just being mindful of that, observing where you're going into this different world. Algorithms and social media, it can be a portal. And I don't say that in an out there way. I just mean it can be a portal that kind of invites us into a certain pocket, into a certain perspective, into a certain way to view a situation or what it is that we should be thinking about. That's what kind of freaks me out about social media, because it's fundamentally opening up our brains around, tell me what to think about right now. Tell me how to feel around. And obviously, I know all of us are empowered, sovereign thinkers. But if you recognize like, ooh, browsing this subreddit is making me feel doom and dread. It's around recognizing, okay, it's time to look at some puppies. It's time to look at some bunny videos. Like, I got to redirect because this is not helping. I'm not the most empowered version of myself when I'm spiraling. And so this is an energy around just like redirecting our focus, being cautious, certainly guarded, ask questions. If something seems off, ask a deeper question. There's so many things that I could have asked Mr. Roger Sawyer. As well as you could find, there's just a desire for deeper conversations. I don't want to be surface level. I don't want to talk about what's on the surface. Can we go deep? And a lot of times those with Mercury square Pluto, it's like they can extract a lot of information out of people or go deep. It's like, why are we talking about the weather? Let's talk about your last heartbreak. Let's talk about your biggest fear. Let's talk about it. Let's go there. And maybe this is even showing up around getting super into a book, getting obsessed with the series, researching all of the things. There could be like an intrigue around wanting to dive into those things, as well as there could be an element of paranoia just alive around, does everyone hate me? Was my vibe off? Am I going to get fired? Like, there just could be an energy of just like fear looming on the edges of your experience. The constructive way would be get lost in something, get lost in a book, get lost in a project, get lost in something that's more constructive rather than destructive as it relates to navigating your Tuesday. If you are feeling that energy of like anxiety, right? Does everyone hate me? Am I this? Am I that? Sometimes you have to just not trust your brain. And I don't mean that around not trusting yourself. I think there's a lot to be said around self-trust with this Aries full moon, but not trusting the voice of your fears, not trusting the voice of your insecurities, not trusting the voice of your limitations. Sometimes you just have to fundamentally acknowledge that. Like I said to my group chat when I was crashing out about the scam, I was like, I am just in a nasty mind space right now. I know I'm not seeing the world clearly. Sometimes you just need to acknowledge I'm in a bad mood. I'm not in a great headspace. And that helps me not feel like every thought that's coming up is real. It helps me recognize it's a bad day. It's not a bad life, and this will pass. And so Tuesday is our Aries full moon recovery day. The moon squares off with Jupiter. Again, big emotions, big revelations. The moon aligns with Chiron. So even revelations, stewing and building around your insecurities, around your wounds, your inadequacies. Sometimes certain situations, whether it's friendships, relationships, connections, will make us feel like we are unworthy of being loved. And that will be leveraged as a manipulative tactic in order to keep us where we are, where it's like, nobody will treat you like I do. No one will love you like I do. Or who's going to love you when you are the way that you are? And I just want to say, if you've heard any of that rhetoric, if that is familiar to you, if you hear that regularly, that is not healthy and you do not deserve that at all. And it is a tactic that is employed to keep you stuck in the same place, because there's this energy around who will love me if this, who will love me if this, who will accept me as I am. And it can be particularly nefarious because it hooks into fears within ourselves around, why am I this way? Why am I so this? Why am I so that? And it makes us feel like, well, I have to stay put because who else is going to put up with me? Who else is going to love me when I'm so flawed, when I'm so deficient at this, when I'm so incapable of this? And again, there could be a nudge. Maybe it's not your thoughts that you need to not believe. Maybe it's an energy around what you're being told. What is being told to you? Mercury square Pluto could be very manipulative of an energy as well. Like this would be an energy of the vibe check around talking about the deeper topic around, we got to talk about this. I'm unhappy. And then it being turned around and weaponized towards you. You want too much. You're the issue. You're the problem. And with Moon Chiron internalizing that, oh, they're right. And I need to stay here. And it's a decision that each and every person makes for themselves. I'm so sorry if you can relate to this week's vibe check. But what I want to highlight here is that the right partner for you, the right friend for you, will never make you feel like you are unworthy of being loved or that they are the only person who could ever possibly love you. Who else would want you? The person that you're really meant to navigate this life with will never make you feel that way. And I'm so sorry if any of you have ever been made to feel that way. And even if that's not the storyline for you, there could just be sensitivities, triggers alive here. Fears of taking a risk, fears of going in the direction of what it is that you really desire. The moon will enter Taurus at 10:12 p.m., which does soothe and comfort. It's like making a great dessert, making a new beverage. I don't know if anyone noticed, but I did swap out the beverages because our delightful lavender Libra creation was all gone early in the video. So I made a little chai for the rest of the video. I don't know if you can tell, but I put some cinnamon in it as well. So if you see any brown on the edges, it's just the cinnamon. If you know, you know. On Wednesday, October 8th, I come bearing some good news for your forecast. I know we've been wrestling some intense energies. I will say it's a glimmer of good news. It's a fleck of good news in the cosmos. Again, we are magicians here in the cosmic corner of the internet. We can make our lives magical, aligned, in flow. We can learn from every experience. I'm not saying that we are doomed with this astrology. It's just intense. There's a lot that's coming up. And with this energy, it's like a glimmer of good. The energy of the Aries full moon would be kind of like a fight, an argument. The energy of Mercury square Pluto saying things within the fight, within the argument with a loved one that are really intense, maybe a bit hyperbolic, maybe a bit extreme. And Venus sextile Jupiter is the energy of potentially being able to grow through it or get to the other side. Like sometimes when we lay it on the table, when we're honest, when we're vulnerable, where we're unhappy, what needs to be changed, what something made us feel, what was said, what was not said, sometimes there is an energy where we're able to grow, we're able to move forward and progress as a couple, as a union, what have you. And so that's the energy of Venus sextile Jupiter, is that it's off the heels of some intense energy, but it brought us closer. We're working through it. We're getting to the other side. Alternatively, in line with this week's vibe check, would be the energy around, I'm beginning to envision a life outside of this. I'm beginning to even romanticize a life outside of this. And that could be something that is exciting, especially if you're in a holding pattern. Sometimes when we are in an uncomfortable space, a space that is not ideal, that we would want to be in, there could be a desire to backslide, to go back to where we last recognized ourselves and cling to that reality. But the invitation, especially with Mercury now in Scorpio, Mars in Scorpio, is to recognize the only way out is through. And you've got to meet yourself on the other side. You've got to envision who you are and what your life looks like on the other side. There is no backpedaling. There is no backsliding. And so the energy of Venus sextile Jupiter would be envisioning that, envisioning the glimmers. If you are not in a relationship and a connection or you desire one, this would be an energy around what sort of values would I want the person that I want to commit to and build a life with? What values would they have? What sort of life would I want to build with them? And it's even knowing that you do not need to have a romantic partner in order to have romance within your life. You can romance your fitness classes with Venus and Virgo. You can romanticize making a little beverage in the morning. You know me, I'm big on my beverages. You can romanticize going to the park and taking a book and sipping a cup of hot tea. Like you can romanticize your life. Those experiences are not neatly limited to being within a relationship. And so some could be romanticizing freedom. You know, Venus in Virgo is very independent, sextile Jupiter. Ooh, I could travel more. I would have more space if I wasn't cleaning up after this person. Like there could be glimmers of that. I'm not saying everybody is going to answer those glimmers, but there can be an energy around, I'm beginning to see potentially a life outside of this. For some, it could be an energy of growth within the connection, maybe having a certain argument around Aries domestic Libra or health, Virgo-like themes, but recognizing, okay, we're growing together. We're moving through this together. There could just be a spark of loveliness within our day. And just that decision, again, with Mercury squaring Pluto, I'm going to have a good day. I'm going to look for beauty within my day. I'm going to romanticize my work, my tasks, because that's all I can really do. With Mercury squaring Pluto, you could decide that you are doomed. You could decide you are blessed, and your mind will filter for more data of why that's true. So it's like making your mind up in ways that benefit you. And with Venus sextile Jupiter, seeing love wherever you go, seeing opportunity wherever you go. Venus is around money. So even, oh, I could make a side income doing this, or maybe I could grow this aspect of my business, something like this. It's subtle. It's so subtle. If you blink, you could miss it. Okay, so midweek, there's an opportunity to look for opportunity to romanticize your life, to invest in the connections within your world, especially the people and situations that make life feel bigger, that make it feel more expansive, that make you feel free to be more of yourself. You know, toxic relationships, connections you don't want to be on, ask you to be less of yourself. Right relationships ask you to be more of yourself around, even if you make mistakes, even if you color outside of the lines, you're a little messy, what have you, that person wants you to step more into yourself because they love you. And those sort of connections do exist. And so maybe Venus sextile Jupiter is around allowing yourself to be optimistic about that. I know a lot of people have a lot of thoughts on the dating market currently. It's very important what thoughts you affirm, because if you feel like dating's horrible and everybody's the worst, you will find more proof of that being true. So it's also important to infuse examples of people fall in love every single day. There are beautiful relationships out there, and I'm allowed to be optimistic about that. And if you are desiring a relationship and not in one currently, romanticize living your own life. Romanticize this era of your life. Romanticize being single. If you desire long-term partnership and you see that on the horizon for yourself, that would indicate that this is the last season of your life, that you will be on your own. Romanticize it. Enjoy what it feels like to be able to make whatever it is that you want for dinner that night. Romanticize the freedom that you have currently, living on your own, making your own decisions whenever you want. And also know that not everybody needs to be in a relationship. Not everybody needs to be partnered. You know, Virgo in the tarot is the hermit. Venus is not dignified in Virgo. You could be in deep connection with yourself. So there's just an ask to romanticize your life wherever it is that you are, as well as potentially for some envisioning future, envisioning where things could go, where things could grow, or where you could go, where you could grow. Outside of that, I will say the astrology today is a bit tense. The moon's in Taurus all day long, which you're probably saying, Miss Haley, Comet, isn't the moon exalted in Taurus, aka super comfy, super comfortable? Shouldn't this be a day that we're just like eating pastries and getting pedicures? Yes, in an ideal world, but the Taurus moon is making some challenging aspects today. So right after midnight, the Taurus moon squares Pluto and opposes Mercury. So it activates that Mercury square Pluto energy. And so there could be fears coming up, particularly around money, security showing up. Mercury square Pluto can easily doom spiral. And then the energy of the Taurus moon opposite Mars, there could be some grumpiness, some stubbornness today as well. You could feel very drained. You could feel very exhausted. It's important to look for the Venus sextile Jupiter of it all. The lunar aspects are tough, but there is like a little sprinkle of the benefics flirting. Venus may not be dignified, but there is a sprinkle of romanticizing daily life, romanticizing this season of your life, and envisioning the next season of your life. On Thursday, October 9th, most of the day, we will have the moon in Taurus, making much more favorable aspects today, I will add. Namely, it sextiles Jupiter in Cancer around 11:30, trines Venus in Virgo around 2:12 p.m., and then sextiles Saturn in Pisces at 5:31 p.m., at which point it's void. So make sure you get out of the office by 5:31 p.m. You probably won't be too productive after that point, though there are debates whether or not the moon can truly be void in a sign that it is dignified in. Let's break break this down. So the energy of Taurus moon wants to find stability, wants to find solid footing. And yesterday there could just be tension, things that are irking you, getting under your skin. You could feel rushed. You could feel impatient. Again, romanticizing the little things in order to get through some annoyances that you're currently navigating. And today there's an energy around finding some anchoring, even if there's big picture things where it's like things are changing, I'm having to make hard decisions, there's things that are not ideal, allowing yourself to feel soothed by what is right now. This would be a really lovely day to earth, to ground, to hug a tree, to eat a meal, to get into your physical body would be helpful, and to really value who it is that you are and to treat yourself really wonderfully. When we look at litter, a lot of times it's alcohol bottles or fast food. And we have to think of the earth as our home and our bodies as our home. We never really see litter of carrots and healthy foods because both are not treating your home very nicely. The home of planet Earth and also the home of your body. And so if you don't respect something, if you don't honor something, you're going to mistreat it, whether that's by way of littering or by way of essentially feeding yourself things that you know are not good. And listen, okay, no one's perfect. I, for one, definitely get down with Taco Bell every so often. Listen, no one's perfect, but we should treat this planet with respect. We should treat our bodies with respect. That means not littering, and that means not continuously feeding yourself garbage with no real nutritional value. It really comes down to respect and comes down to valuing yourself and loving yourself enough to eat food, enough to nourish your body, enough to move your body, enough to invest in your wellness with the energy of Taurus moon trining Venus. Truly, health is wealth. Invest in your body, invest in treating yourself with respect. And that also could show up with balance. We've got a Libra sun, Taurus moon, very Venusian. So yes, we have to get to the bag, right? We have to attend to our tasks and responsibilities with the energy of the Taurus moon sextile Saturn, trining Venus and Virgo. Of course, we have to do what we've got to do, but remember to take a lunch break. Remember to get up every so often. Remember what you're doing it for. The moon enters Gemini around 10-12 p.m. So the tone shifts to much more communicative, chatty. It then sextiles Neptune and aligns with Uranus. So there could be some restlessness, random spurt of energy, random spontaneous desire. Listen, if the call comes, answer it. If the nudge from spirit to start a new Instagram and TikTok comes, answer it. If you are told to jump, it's time to jump. By the way, this is not me advocating that everybody needs to skydive nor make reckless decisions this week. That is not a Comet cosign, but when you're being guided to do something, when an idea is dropped in, when a divine inspiration comes in. But the question is, will you answer the call? On Friday, October 10th, today is giving very You Live, You Learn by Alanis Morissette, a Gemini herself. Like truly, you live, you learn. Sometimes we make dumb mistakes, cough, cough me, getting scammed over the weekend, but we learn. Sometimes we have a fiery, explosive fight where we really allow our truth to be unveiled, and then we learn whether this is not the right partner for us or this is something that we can work through and we can grow through. We launch something, we try something, and we learn, this is maybe not for me. You live, you learn. Truly, it's important to be a constant learner within this experience and really engage with life around. There's so much to learn and to uncover and to look out at life through those bright eyes, that eternal student mentality as represented by the Gemini moon. The Gemini moon trines Pluto in Aquarius shortly after midnight, which is an energy around if we can alchemize the experience into a lesson, we did not waste the time. We did not waste the money with tomorrow's Venus opposite Saturn. Sometimes we make pretty costly mistakes. Sometimes we get scammed by Redditors. But we learn from everything, and that learning makes us resilient. That learning gives us the willpower to keep going and keep showing up. And it's also knowing every single person is an opportunity to learn something new, to have a genuine conversation with them. And that's what's so nice about Mercury square Pluto is it's like, can we go deep? Can we talk about the real stuff? That's why I love what I do, because astrology is Mercury square Pluto. Like it cuts to the core around, okay, let's talk about your childhood. Let's talk about this that's going on in your chart. Let's talk about this dynamic that is alive within your world. It cuts through all the fluff around, hi, how are you? What do you do? Let's talk about your biggest fears in life. And every single person we learn something new from. I am profoundly changed by the clients that I've had and the conversations that I've had. I truly would not be the person I am without those conversations. And I so value those of you who have trusted me enough to read your chart, because we go really deep. We have some really vulnerable shares and conversations, and it changes me as a person. Your perspective, your experiences, your story changed me. And it's important to know that that is the gift of us coming together and learning from one another. So looking out at the world around, what can I learn today? Who can I connect with today? And can I be open to connection? You know, Venus is building to oppose Saturn, which can shut our hearts out from love or make us feel restricted or blocked or not as valuable. And the Gemini moon energy is be open to converse, be present with your energy, be open for conversation, look people in the eye. Even if you're feeling awkward and uncomfortable, it'd be easier to busy yourself with your phone or what have you. It's a risk to show up and to show up with an open heart and open mind. And it's a risk that you're being asked to take this week. On Saturday, October 11th, at 4:11 a.m. PDT, Venus in Virgo opposes Saturn in Pisces. So the planet of love is not happy right now. Venus is in Virgo, the sign of its fall. So already it's like, I hate it here. Get me out of here. The planet of love is at the DMV, so to speak. The planet of love is at the dentist's office. The planet of love is like, get me out of here. Get me back to spa days. Get me back to eating bonbons in bed. Like, I hate it here. Get me out of here. And adding to that, it's also being hit with an opposition to Saturn. So there is an energy where love, relationship, connection can feel a little tough right now. You know, Venus in Virgo points out the details. So if you are single, there could be an energy around everybody has poor hygiene and nobody is actually chewing their food on dates. Like there could just be an energy around getting the ick and then wondering, is it ever going to happen for me? Am I just going to be on my own forever? Like Saturn energy can make us feel very restricted. It can make it feel very blocked. Additionally, if we are in a relationship with Venus and Virgo opposite Saturn, we could feel very buried, very burdened by how much domestic labor is put on us, or just the small details of living. And again, potentially romanticizing what life would look like outside of the connection with Venus sextile Jupiter. And that is not an invitation. That's not something that everybody needs to explore, but there just could be a whisper of that this week. And even if there is an energy of commitment, because ultimately the opposite to Saturn is around commitment. It's around, you know, for better and for worse, good days or bad days, I'm here and I'm showing up. And sometimes there's an energy where it's a passing thought, but then you move into a really lovely season within your relationship. You do the work, you show up, you make the decision to be there, and you are grateful around, I'm so glad I showed up. Like this sweetness, this era of our union would not have been possible had I departed, had I left. But it really takes people who are willing to show up and do the work. And that could be alive this weekend. And some are open, able, and some are not. And again, that's a personal decision that everybody is being asked to make at this time. Things can be a little hard right now in the romantic department. Additionally, in the financial department, Venus and Virgo could have a lot of our budget going to our health, to our checkups, to health insurance. Don't get me started. Open enrollment right now. I don't even want to talk about it. I'm sure people in other countries don't even know exactly what that is. And I'm jealous of you for that. There just could be an energy around, it's not fun money to have to spend money on my root canal. It's not fun money that I have to spend money on these duties and obligations. And there can just be an energy around, I'm sick of not having money. I feel so stuck. I feel like I can't move forward in my life. I can romanticize the things that I want to experience, but I feel blocked from them because of finances, because of resource. I feel stuck. I feel trapped. That could be an energy that is alive currently. And with Venus and Virgo opposite Saturn, there can also be you kicking yourself for certain financial mistakes. You know, maybe you got scammed by a Redditor as well. I'm in the same camp as you as well. Maybe you paid stupid tax in something. And what that means, I'm not calling anyone stupid, but sometimes you just make a dumb mistake and you pay stupid tax where it's like, oh, it would have been cheaper had I bought the early bird, but even though I knew I wanted to go, I waited. And then now I'm paying the stupid tax of now it's $50 more because I didn't just do it when I saw it first. Like sometimes we just spend dumb money where it's like, why? And we got to get over it. Like I had to get over my scammer crash out. We just got to get to the other side of it, because every time we give more of our energy to it, we give it money over and over again. Every time I think about the Reddit user Roger Sawyer and literally rue the day that that person was born for scamming me, I'm paying that individual more money every time I obsess about it and hyperfixate on it. Sometimes we make dumb financial mistakes and it just is. Again, are we learning from it with the energy of the Gemini moon? The Gemini moon sextiles Chiron around 3 p.m. It does square Saturn, so there could be some harsh recognition, some harsh realities that you are facing later on today. Again, Saturn makes things feel oof. Saturn is like that oof energy, hitting a wall, feeling stuck, feeling trapped, feeling restricted. And with the Gemini moon also squaring Venus, so again, pulling in that Venus Saturn opposition, feeling very blocked financially or around love or even around self-love, valuing yourself. You could be very hard on yourself at this time. The moon enters Cancer at 11:37 p.m. So this could be a nudge to be a little bit more of a homebody, to get into your environment, to spend time with the people and around the places that make you feel safe and comfortable. On Sunday, October 12th, the moon is in Cancer all day long. It squares off with Neptune. So this can be like a dreamy energy. Just be conscious of not romanticizing the past. You know, sometimes that will keep us in a certain situation around, it was so good when it began, or remember this, how could you give up on this and that? But there's an energy with the Cancer moon trining Mercury and Scorpio around having the deeper conversations or digging into what is beneath the surface in order to really unpack. Is the past more valuable than my future? Like, am I sacrificing elements of my future, being loyal to elements of my past? And this can be an energy around being around someone where you're able to go there, where you're able to risk, where you're able to unpack. And maybe that's with yourself. Maybe this is a great journaling sesh. Maybe this is having your nose in a book. Maybe this is cleaning your house and listening to an audiobook. There's an invitation to go deep. With 2 planets in Scorpio, it's the cosmic nudge at a time like this. So my loves, that is our week. A Magic Monday mantra to support you as you navigate is, I am my own best friend. I know that seems a bit juvenile, our mantra this week, but I really want you to acknowledge the relationship that you have with yourself and make it a good relationship. It's the relationship you're going to have from the beginning of your time here on planet Earth until your final hours, is the relationship you have with yourself. And along the way, you will have many partnerships and friends and relationships. Like Libra season is around celebrating that we get to have bonds and make connections and be in love and have deep friendship. It's such a gift of this experience, truly. But it's knowing that none of those are worthy of you forsaking yourself, abandoning yourself, neglecting yourself. And of course, relationships take drawbacks. Sometimes we show up for our friends' obligation, even when we'd rather be doing other things. Sometimes we save and budget for our friend's birthday when that's money that could have been spent on other things. Sometimes we show up for our partner's work accomplishment, even if there's other things that we'd rather be doing with our time. Like, it does take sacrifice and drawbacks and consequences, certainly. But the ask is really, are you holding your own hand around that? Is that something that you are choosing, like consciously choosing it? Or are you denying and making this the most important thing? There's an ask to walk hand in hand with yourself, to know that, yes, the cost of community is being inconvenienced every so often. The cost of being in a relationship is showing up on the good days and the bad days. Absolutely. There's a cost that we pay. And sometimes with the opposition to Saturn, it's a heavy cost that we pay. But altogether, you are there as yourself, choosing to be with this other person, not neglecting yourself, abandoning yourself. You are your own best friend. And from that place of wholeness, from that place of fullness, you are able to show up and be there for others. But there is an ask to really recognize where you are neglecting yourself, abandoning yourself, and where fear may be keeping you stuck or keeping you in the way of full empowerment or fully choosing yourself. And another huge thank you to the sponsor of this week's Magic Monday podcast, Ana Luisa Jewelry. You can match me. You can work on stacking your jewelry. Libra season is great for that. Pieces start at just $39. So thank you so much, Ana Luisa, for working with me and supporting the pod. And so if you made it to the end of our forecast today, go ahead and drop below the skydiving emoji if you have it. I just checked my phone. I have a skydiving emoji, so I'm hoping everybody has it. But if you do not have it, you do not have an emoji, give the emoji combination of skydiving, or just utilize the word skydiving in a sentence. It's a little game that we play to let me know that you made it to the end of the forecast. My Instagram handle is at Haley Comet Astrology. My TikTok is the same. I would so love to connect with you over there. And now I have a new TikTok and Instagram, Magic Monday Pod on both. Only follow if you want to see the short form little clips. If sometimes you don't have time to watch the full forecast and you just want your cosmic information in little bits, or you just want to support me, that would be so appreciated. Thank you so much. I'll see you again, same time, same place next Sunday here in the cosmic corner of the internet. But until then, drink lots of water and stay magical.